No, Vito's on vacation.
Oh. Who told him he could go on vacation?
Did you just start this new job?
Yeah, no, really?
You
Yeah.
were giving him permission.
He went on a
Gave him
cruise. His
permission.
wife won a cruise.
Really?
Another cruiser.
All right, are we ready?
3 damn years, I haven't missed a meeting yet. He just thinks he can start missing meetings.
Okay, this is the Monday, November 18th, 2013, 7 p.m. work session of the River Edge Mayor and Council. The adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by sending notices on December 21st, 2012 to the Record and the Ridgewood News, positioning notice on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Borough Hall, and filing a notice of the meeting with the municipal clerk. I'd like to remind members of the public that we have 3 exits in council chambers, 2 to the front and 1 to the rear. We're on the record. Everything is being recorded, both by audio and video. If a member of the public wishes to speak during the public portion of the meeting, all they need to do is give us their name and address, and we will hear their statement or entertain any question. Hopefully we'll have an answer to give them. I think that's it for now. Can we have I'd like to congratulate Councilwoman-elect Ellen Bastide, who's sitting at the children's table over there. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Murphy.
Here.
Councilman Estrada. Councilman Capola.
Here.
Councilman Iannone.
Here.
Councilman Guardaloni.
Still here.
Councilman Papaleo.
Here.
And Mayor Mastronola.
Here. Okay. We have Borough Administrator's topics: Community Development Block Grant applications and grant consultant interviews. I believe we were having ongoing discussions regarding Community Development Block Grant applications, regarding handicapped ramps and curbing, and the usual bus dispatcher and senior activities. Any additional proposals or ideas? Are we just doing that this year? Is everybody in agreement, or have any comments? Or Ed?
Yeah, Mayor, I think that's prudent to do the handicapped ramps. We know there's some we need to do, and if we're going to be able to get funding to support some of that, then we should apply for it.
Okay. We have a motion on that, Mayor?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Good, thank you, Mayor.
Those are due on December 6th, I believe.
Yep. Alan, you'll take care of any background information we need from the borough engineer?
Yes, I'll provide a complete application to the representatives by deadline.
Okay, great. Number 2, grant consultant interviews.
Mayor, if I may, we had 2 firms responded to our request for proposal. Those have gone to the mayor and council. We had Bruno Associates and Millennium. I would just like to know, I know you wanted to interview grant consultants, so I'd like to know whether you want to interview both or just one, either one. And we can make that arrangement for an interview based on what you'd like to do.
Whatever the pleasure of the council. Ed?
Alan, correct me, but both of those were fee-for-service contracts? They both were...
Yes.
So I think it's premature until we start doing the budget to see if we even have the money in the budget to pay for them. The $30,000, I don't know if we have that money in the budget. If we don't have the money in the budget yet, we'd have to do it during the budget season.
I would agree.
I would concur.
All right. You understand that the problem with that is that the budget is not completed until end of April, which is already more than the first quarter of the year, and then we have to select the grant consultant, then we have to put a resolution on and enter into a contract with them. Before that's done, we're half of 2014 is gone.
That's true, but I don't know if we have to wait until the final budget's done. I think once we have a sense of where we are money-wise, and that may be February or even early March, then we could act at that time.
Unless
someone else thinks that we have funding that we could definitely, I mean, we're razor thin right now.
And we didn't get any application from anybody who does a percentage basis that we don't have to pay whether we get a grant or not. So maybe if we wait to the beginning of the year, we'll get more respondents. I think this time of year, people aren't going to, I don't see the point of interviewing somebody in December if we may not even hire them until June anyway. And we don't have the money.
I just think we need more time to investigate this.
Okay, all right, fine. For discussion, 2014 appointments. I know Denise got me the list. I'm reviewing it. I'll have meetings with both sides. We'll see if we can, as last year, we can come to some agreeable resolution before the 2014 reorganization meeting on all appointments. What?
Middle of December, please, did you say?
Number 2, approve resolution for the fire department annual holiday party on December 14th from 7 to 11. Anybody have a question, a comment regarding that? Further discussion on the police promotion procedures. Anybody have a chance to review the ordinances from Little Ferry or Paramus that our borough attorney provided us?
Mayor, if I may, we had an informal conversation with the chief in the personnel committee. Are we free to share some of that in open session? What is your opinion?
I have to let the borough attorney answer that question. I'm not the borough attorney.
I don't know what was discussed in the personnel, but if you discuss specific employees, no, because they were not riced.
No.
If you talk in general
Mhm.
of the structure, how many lieutenants, captains you need, yes, you can't talk about specific employees without ricing them.
All right, so in that case, we were speaking generally about, with the chief, and the chief is here, about his thoughts about the proposed ordinance, and the chief had felt that, and it seemed, and I had asked the question, what do you think about where we were with
No,
promotions?
I think the chief should have input on the
Yeah.
ordinance.
So, I don't know, do we wish for the chief to offer some of the same comments now or not?
I don't know, the chief made those comments in a closed personnel meeting,
Okay,
so...
so in that case, I do not have any comments at this time.
All right, so we're going to continue our review of the 2 ordinances that our borough attorney provided to us. We're going to, we have to decide if we're going to go forward with the police department promotion process anyway, whether we make changes with the ordinance or not. So let's keep it on the front burner. I just want to confirm with Alan, we haven't sent out any eligible list or anything like that yet?
No, the process would be for the mayor and council to indicate that they're moving ahead with the promotional process. I generally send a letter of invitation to eligible officers explaining some of the requirements for the promotion, which would come out of the ordinance, and asking if they're interested to return the letter signed by a certain date so that we could start the process. If you're not sure about the process, the letters could still be sent out to see if they have an interest, even though, the process isn't firm at this point in time. At least you would know who is interested in the promotion.
Correct. That would concern me, because once you have people who've made their interest known, then you don't want to go and change the process from that point forward.
Your process is in place, so I think the decision is, are you going to move forward with the process you have in place and then take a look at it later on down the line and do some changes to your ordinance, or are you going to go forward and do changes to the ordinance which is going to take some time by the time you do it, first read, second reading, and then do the promotion. So you do have, obviously, an ordinance in place for promotions. It's whether you want to continue going forward with it based on the need of getting the promotions done right away.
All right, we're having anybody else want to offer any opinion? You want to hear my opinion? My opinion is that we've brought officers up to the steps where, under our existing ordinances, that they're eligible for a promotion. And to change that process while they're on the doorstep of a possible promotion with a new ordinance may be adverse to the best interests of the borough and the officers. So my suggestion is to move forward with the process that we're on now for the next promotional stage, and then if the borough is all of one, if the council is all of one mind, to investigate amending the promotional ordinances after this next round of promotions so that it doesn't adversely affect anybody, then that's what we should do.
Well,
Just put it out there, that's all.
I think we should review the ordinance first, because it has to do with how we're going to make the decision as to who's going to be promoted. And I think we've had issues in the past with promotions, and we should make sure that we're going to address those areas which could potentially lead us into problems like we had with previous promotions.
Okay.
This is my opinion.
Or we could potentially get into a problem by switching the rules of the game.
Well, we haven't
But-
started anything.
No, I'm just saying, to play devil's advocate, I mean, to the mayor's point, I don't know. I mean, that could cause a potential problem, too. I don't see it either way.
We should pick some kind of date when we finish reviewing whether or not we're going to, make a change to the ordinance. Just pick a date.
Well, would there be any objection to the next council meeting? We all have the proposal. Well, Tom, where are you in what you've presented, you're comfortable with? Does it need to be reviewed?
Unless, what I'm looking for now is feedback from the mayor and council as to what would you like changed with your ordinance? What you'd like to... You heard my comments about the subjective part of it and putting more objectivity into it, but I presented you with some alternatives. They're a little bit way out there, so that's why I said now I'm looking for maybe some feedback as to how you'd like to do it. You want to put, take a little here, take a little there, adopt one, adopt the two, continue looking. Like you said, there's the one that I already did and was part of, and I just gave you Paramus because they just went through a round of litigation and they just recently redid it, and they're somewhat similar. So I'm waiting for direction from the mayor and council as to how you guys want to proceed with the drafting of the ordinance. I provided you my comments as to which ones I think would work here.
I personally would feel that a prerequisite for the council's discussion would be to give the chief an opportunity to respond to what's been proposed, or at least comment on what's been proposed. I think that's a prudent step. I did get some comments from the chief during the personnel committee, but I think the mayor's comment and our borough attorney's comment that that was a closed session, and even though it is not was not any particular, we were not speaking about any particular employee of the borough. It's still, I think, I would like for the chief to offer his comments to us, and so that we might reflect on those comments as well as yours, and I think that'd be a more informed conversation. But that's just my opinion.
And I would defer to our borough attorney to make this ordinance or whatever we decide upon as litigation, free as possible.
Can't stop anyone from suing, but we can make it where you'll have a hell of a chance in court to uphold it, and I'm pretty confident, and we'll run it by again. The JIF attorney and the ones I've provided you have already been tried and tested and the stamp of approval by the JIF. So those are. But again, those ordinances are not for every town. They're not for everyone. It's just what works, or what I think basically, works. So you may like a portion of it, you may not like a portion. Those ordinances don't have psychological testing in there. You may feel we want psychological testing. So it's what you really want. And then you tell me what you want, then I can tell you, well, no, that opens yourself up, or it doesn't open yourself up.
If I could, this body will be shaping the police department for decades to come with this next promotional process. You're adding a lieutenant, you're adding a number of sergeants as well, so you should feel completely comfortable with the ordinance. I'm not swayed by the argument that you shouldn't change the process in the middle of the game. You can't wait the life of a police officer's career to change the promotional process. That doesn't make any sense. You have police officers and we have spots that need to be filled. You have to look at that ordinance very carefully and do what you think is right. The lieutenant's ordinance right now really doesn't provide for any objective criteria whatsoever. I think that's an area that you most likely should concentrate on to begin with, and whether or not you want to add some type of objective criteria, some type of testing, amend the ordinance quickly as you can. To do that, that would be my recommendation. And then if you want to focus on the sergeants a little bit later on, that would make more sense. But I think there's a critical spot missing at the top of the organization, which this body should look to fill as quickly as possible. So if you are inclined to add some type of objective criteria to the ordinance, I would suggest you try and get that done before the end of the year, and so that way you can look to fill that position fairly quickly next year once the testing's complete. But I would just suggest maybe you start with the lieutenant's position right now. That's all.
All right. Anybody else? Could we invite the chief? I don't know if the chief's ready to make comments to the council as a whole. Is there any objection to inviting the chief if the chief is so inclined to...
Why don't I mean, when are you going to have this back on? If I could speak to the chief,
Okay.
and then we'll have the chief come up after.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we take number 3, which is the police promotion procedure, to keep it in our attention, and add that to our continuing list of unfinished business, so that it'll come up on every council agenda until we have decided to move forward with the police promotion process regarding sergeants, to decide whether or not we want to amend the ordinance regarding lieutenant's promotion, and reach a consensus with the chief's involvement. Is that okay? All right.
With the plan.
All ayes, Mayor?
Yes.
Aye.
All right, good.
Mayor, while we're talking about, can I just bring one related unfinished business with this? Also, I would like the chief to, unless he's done personnel, but I think maybe in either it's open session or closed session, I want the chief to explain to the council the selection and vetting process for potential new applicants. How they go through the applicant pool, what the review levels are, who's involved, and that whole process. And with that, and again, I don't know whether this would be an open topic or closed topic, I'd like to see from the last 3 rounds of hiring, the applicant pools, when the applications came in, who's on the list, and who was vetted when, and if they can't tell us who's eliminated for whatever reason. We've had this issue about having a lot of applicants and then having very few candidates come before us. I just want the chief to go through that process and show us how we wound up where we were the last 3 times.
All right, so let's do this. Let's put...
It's a closed session. It's a matter of person.
We'll do
Yeah.
closed sessions.
Closed session. All right, number 4, change order request for the security of the door of the police department.
Mayor, if I may, we had received a proposal from C&M Door Controls, who installed the doors on both the Public Safety Building and Borough Hall, to install a remote locking and unlocking device at the police department entrance. And this is at the request of the police chief and the police department. It's a security feature that we've had since the building was built. There were several questions from the council as to whether this was up to code. I asked our construction official, who's also the fire subcode, Bob Burns, to take a look at it, as well as Alan Silverman, the fire prevention officer, and they felt confident that it is up to code, and with the push bar, an individual would be able to exit in case of an emergency. Police chief is here tonight to answer any other questions as to how the door is maintained and any reasons therefore. I would recommend that we consider awarding this contract to C&M to provide, the additional security that's necessary for the public safety building.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Any, can someone make a motion to accept the change order?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, request for refund of the soil permit fee for 455 Kinderkamak Road. Alan? anything?
Mayor, we received a request from a resident who was trying to install a ground pool at this location. They are abandoning the project. They did file for the soil review. In fact, our engineer did perform the review and has billed us for it and was paid for that service. At this point, they're just looking for a refund of the $250. I don't know that, what the council's feeling is on this, but if there's no motion, then we would just write them back, telling them that it's not something that is refundable.
Did they revoke this willing on their own, Alan, or was it because they got denied the permit?
I read the correspondence. It indicated that they went through the, I think it was the zoning board. They hired experts. They got a variance. They began the work. Then our borough engineer told them that they would have to do all of these drainage improvements with seepage pits, which was going to cost thousands of dollars. Their contractor told them throughout the process that he didn't believe seepage pits were required or necessary, but of course our borough engineer said that they were. So they ultimately said that they didn't have the money in their budget to do the work in accordance with our engineer's recommendations, so they abandoned the whole process. So they're asking for their soil movement permit fee back. They've spent thousands already.
I would make a motion to give that back to them.
I'll second.
refund that.
But I also think that maybe there has to be maybe Mr. Costa can write up as part of the instruction sheets that improvements such as seepage pits or something, just so the public understands when they get the application itself, there may be extra costs associated. It's one thing to go through the whole process, but not realizing that there's going to be another review and then all of a sudden adding a whole new set of infrastructure. The lay people don't understand that, so maybe
But
we
if
just need
they're not
better.
fully explained and,
So we need a better
kind of
way
like
to convey that to the people.
All right, that's reasonable. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Work session consent agenda. Any,
One more discussion item.
oh, that's right. There is also a request for a resolution from the fire department for the swearing-in ceremony on January 11th, 2014 for the new chief at Fire Company Number 2. Anybody have any comments? My only observation is that
6 hours.
this is 6 hours.
Seems a little lengthy.
And I also just had a question, and I guess it also pertains maybe to the second, number 2 on the discussion, but they're not going to be answering calls.
No, they have another department.
They have another company.
Yeah, I just want to make
cover
sure,
that.
yeah, I mean, I don't, no, I'm not.
No.
Yeah.
No, there's a fill-in from another department.
Right.
Right.
They put another department on notice that they're out of service
Right,
for the
like a mutual aid, yeah.
for the rest of the day, I think.
That'd be something else.
No, this has always been, this has been historically the way it's handled in the state of New Jersey.
Well.
All right. Anybody requesting any changes or modifications?
I mean, I think 3 to 7, like 4 hours, like the first one, is maybe more sufficient.
I'd say if they want to do it up to 9, then make it 4 to 9.
Or just a 4-hour window then, and let them
Last time we
determine
gave
the time.
was 5 hours.
We gave them 5
So
hours.
maybe they're taking an hour from the first one and putting it on to the next one. So I think 5 hours would be sufficient.
Well, what 5 hours?
Whatever 5 hours they desire.
We have our 5 hours? That's
At
your
their
motion,
discretion,
5?
yes.
Reduce 6 hours to 5 hours?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any second on that?
I'll second that.
We have a second on that. All right. All in favor to approve a resolution for a 5-hour swearing-in ceremony and alcohol consumption, reception? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, any abstained? Yes.
There's a possibility that 3 o'clock is when the swearing in is.
It
and
is.
that the party starts afterwards, so
Yeah.
probably is 4 to 9. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
have to look back at the paperwork, but that's a good possibility.
I think it probably is. I'll just be really slow swearing them in.
Take an hour.
Resolution 13408 should be amended to reflect this change.
Okay. Now we're up to the work session consent agenda. Would any member of the council wish to pull out for separate discussion, consideration, any matter on the work session consent agenda? Kathleen?
Number 1, and I'd like to discuss number 5.
All right, number 1. What's your question or comment on number 1?
Well, we got conflicting information from 2 different boroughs with their dealings with this company. So I would like more information. You know, one was good and one was not so good.
Mayor?
If I may, since that time, I had 2 other responses, one from the police chief of Allendale, who basically gave them an average recommendation for some work that was done on a new building, 2004 and 2006. It's a little difficult to recollect all of the particulars so many years ago. On the other hand, the township manager, Teaneck, called me and provided a glowing endorsement of the company, basically ending it by saying he would hire the firm and that the particular individual who's the lead individual again. So you have 2 more that...
So one's average.
Yes.
One's good, so it's like 2 versus 2.
But their,
No, go ahead.
but their scope is very limited.
Yes, that's what I was going
And
to...
you're under the direction of Mr. Polici, and you're also going to have, Councilman Aquafred is going to, I'm sure, weigh in on when we're doing the design work. No, I mean, in a positive sense, he'll be able to oversee. We're only respecing existing equipment. It's not really new design, so I'm not as concerned that, I don't think the scope is so big and that I'd be overly concerned about hiring them. I think there's enough oversight.
All right, any more discussion?
The only other
Is there a
thing-
resolution on the
Yes.
agenda for
Yes,
this?
there is. The only other...
We can have a roll call vote on that.
I'm sorry, Mayor. The only other suggestion was to include some hourly rates, which we have yet to receive. So if you pass this resolution, I would make it contingent on receiving and incorporating hourly rates into the contract.
Okay. Anybody else?
Kathleen,
Kathleen, you have your hand up on the...
Yeah, number 5, I just had a question. We have this settlement here for tax appeal.
Right.
Now, when Appraisal Systems did this, weren't we supposed to, they were supposed to handle that, and we were kind of insulated from any tax appeals?
Well, they were obligated for the first year to defend these at the county board level.
Oh, just the first year?
2012, yes.
I believe it was the first year.
This is a settlement for 2013.
So anything for 2012, they should have defended, right?
I would have to go back and reread the contract, but that was my impression.
Okay. That's what I thought too, because reading through some of these, the years are 2010, 11, 12. So I would assume that that's something that would be on them.
Well, not
they
the refund,
dismissed.
not the amount of the refund.
They're supposed to,
They're supposed to provide us with expert advice and
Mhm.
testimony for the tax years 2011 and 2012.
mhm.
This is, according to the agenda, it says it's a settlement for the calendar year 2013. So it's not included within the scope of our contract with Appraisal System.
and they dismissed their lawsuit for those calendar years as part of the settlement.
Okay.
All right? Anything else on the consent agenda?
Yes.
All right. Can I have, wait a minute. I didn't go over the rest of them. Number 3, we did that, the outside duty. There were no questions on our tax appeal attorney. There were no issues. On number 5, we just handled. And number 6 is the application for technical assistance workshop. Okay. Can I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda subject to the resolution list at the 8 o'clock meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any, on our unfinished business list? Grove Street, I see our borough attorney sent the proposed easement to Mr. Grasso.
Mr. Grasso's here. He received it. I believe he still has some questions regarding the scope of the easement, not the deed of the easement that was prepared, but the actual scope and easement itself. So, I don't know if he wants to explain. He has a little bit of a different interpretation as to what the easement's going to consist of or not.
Wouldn't it be more prudent to advise Mr. Grasso to go get his own counsel to explain it to him rather than
Well,
us?
it's really more of, not us, it's more of the engineer explaining not the scope of the easement in the legal terms,
Mhm.
but the width and the length, I guess you should
Okay.
say, as to the...
Okay. Okay. All right.
And I agree with you, yes. And I've advised him he should have his own counsel review it and sign off on it. But this is the actual easement itself, the physical characteristics of the easement, where it begins, where it
If we
starts.
could just open to the public so that the council can have the benefit of Mr. Grasso's understanding, so that so that the council can understand what the issue is.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Where it begins, where it ends.
Mr. Grasso, what's your question regarding the easement?
Okay, originally I thought the easement was going to be so if people had to make K-turns to get into the new parking spaces that are going to be there, that was the purpose, they have to go over my property. It appears, unless I'm interpreting wrong, apparently Ed is the one that can answer this question, but the easement is 10 feet wide, and originally, I have the survey here of the easement, and it shows that it's 10 feet wide and 85 feet long, but when they show the area of the easement, written there, it shows the area is 1,780.66 square feet. So to me, that appears that the easement is going the entire length of the property, all the way up to Kindercomack Road, to come up with that amount of square footage, unless, I'm in error. But just a 10-foot wide easement, 85 feet long, would come out to 850 square feet, and they're showing the easement as 1,700 square feet.
Okay. All right, so you need a clarification of that.
Yes. I mean, I figured I wanted to get all these things clarified, and then I would consult with the bank, the mortgage company, and my attorney. Am I wrong?
No, I don't know if you're wrong. I just know there might be some misunderstanding here, because if you look at the scaling, it looks like the block he's scaling is about, 170 feet. Even though it's, so I don't know where they're, so it's 178 feet from, if you want to come up and I'll just show you. I don't have a ruler, but I'm just basing it on my thumb. From this point to this point is 180 feet, 179 point whatever, and the 10 feet, that gives you the 1,800 square feet.
It's 170 feet? You're what,
I'm
70
scaling
plus
this,
the 70?
yeah, this is not the length, this is just the bearing.
The minutes and...
Yeah, so, but if you took a scale, this is a 30-inch scale, so if you scaled this off, this is 178 feet, so it's 178 times the 10, that's how it's coming up with the 1,780.
Oh, okay. So it's not...
It's not, no, it's, at least
this-
based on
right
this,
here,
no. This is not
that's-
up to here. No, these are just the bearings of the property lines. You see, where it's getting a little confusing is that you're seeing the 88, that's the bearing, it has nothing to do with the
Okay.
length. But I said, if you actually physically measure this is a 10 scale, like, probably.
Yeah, and
20
if you look at
scale.
each of those properties, it's
Yeah.
probably
So this is 180 feet
50 feet.
times the 10, that's how he's coming up with the 1,800.
So
So close.
the easement.
Easement area is from here to here. And it's only for access to get in and out. Because like we said before, there'll be no parking, there'll be no restrictions.
Right, I remember
To get
it
to your
says
property.
Ingress and egress only.
Right.
Yes, so, that's really what it is. So it's 178 feet by the 10 feet, that's how they got up to 1,780. But it doesn't go all the
I
way
wasn't
here.
aware that was that long. Can I just
Yeah.
get my
Sure,
survey? and-
yeah.
That's probably 75, and
Yeah,
that might be
that's
another
it.
50-foot property,
Yeah.
so there you
Yeah. Yeah, this is about 8 inches, and it's 160, 170 feet.
See, I wasn't aware that my property was that long. I mean,
Your property, but we're only taking the easement through, what is this? It's a different datum, so I can't match it.
so I'm thinking, you're saying it's 175 feet.
178 feet.
So if you add this, that means the whole, I didn't think the whole property was that deep. I mean, whatever, the 178 plus this.
Well, he's saying right here, it's 76 feet from here to here. The way I do it, this is 8.5 inches, right?
Right.
So, for all intents and purposes, 8.5 inches. It's 20 feet per inch, so that works out about 170 feet from here to here.
Okay.
Okay. Your property is shown, just can't come out.
This is the length, I assume, the 94?
94 is to... Scales it. So 3 inches is 90 feet, so... 1, 2, yeah, so from here to here is 95. And then you're looking at another 30, 50. $95, $50, $140, so yeah, so it's 70, But you can sit down with Costin, he can
Okay.
use with the scale, and he'll show exactly where it matches up, but
All right, so...
I think they're pretty close.
All right, so I was incorrect, it's not...
It's not all the way, no. But I said, sit down with Mr. Costin, he can
All right.
read his scale, and he'll measure it off directly for you and show exactly, and then he can overlay this with that and show you exactly what,
Okay.
how it matches up. There's no reason for it to go all the way out,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so once I talk to him, I'll talk to the Nordic...
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. Grasso.
You're welcome.
Can I have a motion to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anything on the HVAC? Okay. Not at this time. Any other unfinished business? Kathleen?
I just had a question for Alan about the utility audit. Where are we at with that?
We received a letter today, which I'll be sending out to the council, indicating that there are some credits that will be coming back to us on the telephone side and requesting an additional bill from November. In addition, I have been working with them over the past several weeks, providing them with some additional information. The staff has provided, telephone numbers, so things have been, going on internally with that. So it seems like they are reaching a conclusion. They're in negotiations, I guess, with a couple of the utility companies over the credits that will be issued.
Do you know what anticipated savings we might see, or
No,
when that might?
Not at all.
I had a question about last meeting. Did the countdown lights, countdown for the traffic lights, was there a repair done to one? Did we have to repair one before we put it up?
I'm not aware of that. I don't know whether the police chief has more information on that.
I just remember seeing the bills last time, and it looked like there was a repair that had to be done to one
He
immediately.
coordinated the installation, so
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that.
I did want to ask, since we haven't really moved forward with the technology, can we have Cablevision come in here just to put the Wi-Fi in? Just so we can have Wi-Fi?
I don't know the answer to that question.
We can call them up and they can put some routers in, and then we could just at least have Wi-Fi, since the budget will be mostly scanned to people. Many people have asked for it to be scanned to them.
I would think, though, that you would want a secure Wi-Fi and an unsecure Wi-Fi as well, not just a public Wi-Fi. So I don't know if Cablevision is the right one to do that.
Well, we need some Wi-Fi. I mean, at the conference that we're going down to, there's a few technology companies that I'm going to be speaking to, but, we are in desperate need of Wi-Fi.
We just recently had a problem with our computer, and I was just saying that, and I had to bring someone in who couldn't get on, and he said that there was a problem where somebody had he asked me, did somebody come in with a laptop and use our, I guess, Wi-Fi or whatever, and I had no idea. I didn't think anyone did. So it's concerning me a little bit with what you're talking about, because we have a problem with our computers, so I'm not following why you need Wi-Fi.
So that we can access the information while we're sitting here, if we're doing the budget, and almost everyone has declined the big book. They're going to be doing it on their tablets. We need to be able to get the information quickly.
Well, I've not declined it because of the Wi-Fi issue. I would be glad to get it electronically if I knew we had Wi-Fi. But I think Al's right. We have to make sure that we have a secure and unsecure. Because are you suggesting that you had a virus problem?
No,
or
he didn't say that. He said it was almost like somebody came in and was trying to use our internet, but nobody knows, like through a laptop or something.
Like, do they try
Very
to-
strange.
We had if I may, we had a disconnect between the Xerox machine and our computers. So they weren't communicating with one another. And when he went in and looked at the setting, he saw that someone with a Samsung unit had taken that particular place in the Xerox machine, so we had to reassign another number to it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, that would
So that-
suggest that you're not secure. That would
No.
suggest that somebody got access to the system.
Right.
Is your system secure right now?
You need an IT person to answer this question, I apologize.
Okay, well, that's-
But all the computers in the building are all hardwired, right? You're hardwired to...
Yes.
Yes.
There's no Wi,
Region.
yes, there's no Wi-Fi system.
Wi-Fi.
Someone would have
No
to,
Wi-Fi.
So you are essentially secure because you're hardwired.
Well-
That's two different issues. I mean, if we did bring a router in, it was secure.
as long, if the computers are on the internet, somebody can hack into your system.
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't know what happened, if somebody came in and plugged their machine into our system, or it was hacked externally. But you need to bring an IT guy in.
Well,
And
hopefully
you
at
have
the
to see if you have that in the
convention.
budget to do it.
Mayor, I did make an offer to bring up Jay Scalaro of United Computer to appear before the Technology Committee. He's willing to come up and talk to them about any number of issues, so as soon as the Technology Committee is ready to meet, we can extend that invitation to him.
It would be nice to have a bigger pool of people, not just that person.
It's up to the committee, and the council, for sure.
You know, we did get recommendations from Riverdale, we were going to work with them, and then things just kind of stopped, so...
Well, how many members of the council have tablets or something that they can bring in to do the budget without getting those big books out? You know, I have a tablet. Everybody has tablets?
I have it. I'm just, if we don't have Wi-Fi, I want the big book because...
No, the only way we could have it, the only way we can be paperless is if we have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Because we can't all plug into a system. You'd have to rewire the whole room.
Is there a way just to call Cablevision to see, you know, what their solutions are temporarily until we get this whole thing figured out?
Well, I think first we got to talk to an IT guy to see if he can make it, to see if we can get a secure system. Then if he says yes, then if there's, you know, I don't think it's going to cost a lot of money, but if there's money in the budget, then we have to get Cablevision or Verizon or somebody to install it.
Okay. Well, my mission at the conference is to secure a technology person and drive them back here.
Okay. Ed, do you have a tablet or a laptop?
No, I don't. I'll have the book.
You don't have
That's
the book?
fine.
Ellen? No. Alan, you're going to have the book?
Oh, I'll have the book.
No G.
Even if I have a tablet, I'll have the book.
He'll use the tablet as a bookmark for the book. I did have another question regarding, I saw in one of these, our agenda here, we had gotten a nursing grant for $14,000.
Yes, we receive grant funds for what they call non-public school nursing. It offsets the cost of nurses being provided at St. Peter's, the yeshiva, and other locations. So that money is, we receive the grant funds and we make payments to the nurses for their services at the non-public schools.
You apply for that grant?
Our health officer, Sam Yanovich, through Mid-Bergen, makes the application, and we've been receiving funds for some 20 to 30 years.
And I stopped into the library today, and Dara said you're applying for a grant for historic preservation?
Well, the Historic Commission had reached out to me and asked if I would review a grant application for certified local governments, which I did, and I reported back to Phyllis Angelo and Mary Donahue today, and included Dara O'Connor in on the conversation. They would like to make an application related to cataloging a lot of the historical photographs and letters and things like that are shared now between the Borough, the Cultural Center, and the library. The library has some space available, and this grant application would be to hire an archivist who would try and accomplish that. There's a short window open. There's an application deadline in December, in January, early January. So what I would like to do is, December 2nd, I believe Dara's coming to talk about the strategic plan of the library. I was going to include the resolution authorizing the application, and the council would have the opportunity to ask any questions of Dara and the Historic Commission if they're available for that night as well. There's no match required, so the grants range from $9,000 to $25,000. And that's just an overview of it. I was going to send council a memo to that effect, so you'd be prepared for the topic on December 2nd.
One other question, the FEMA money, where are we at with that? How's that looking?
It's looking very good. I believe we're at the end of the line with the FEMA money. We received another, I think about $12,000 in October, and I believe that's the end of it. So I can
What's our grand total?
I'll send out a final report, the final tabulation to the mayor and council.
Any other unfinished business? Ed?
Yeah, old business. Going into next year, I think it's time for the council to put the issue of bylaws to rest. And I'm just making the motion that we adopt the bylaws as they were drafted by Councilman Bartoloni, because I think those are the ones that I was supporting from the beginning, and whether we put them up for the next meeting to discuss further or whatever, but I just think we need to get this in place before the new year.
Well, I'll second that. The adoption, are you making a motion to adopt?
I would make
the
a motion to
bylaws?
adopt them, but unless there's a consensus for further discussion, but I think we
If there's
discussed them a lot.
If there's a motion and a second, as this is a work session, we can take a vote, and then we can put it on for a formal resolution at the next meeting,
Okay.
just like we always do. So there's a motion and a second to adopt the set of bylaws drafted by Councilman Bartoloni. Let's have any discussion? Okay.
Want me to do that?
Yeah, roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy?
No.
Councilman Capola?
Yes.
Councilman Bignon?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
What do I?
All right, it'll be on, formal resolution will be on the agenda for December 2nd.
Thank you, Mayor, that's all.
Any other unfinished business? Any new business?
You got something down?
Yeah, there's one item here, which is my suggestion to create a senior community center trust account. My idea is that a proposed community center is a long-term plan of my administration, and it's not going to be done overnight. It may take several years. We need a place we need a fund created so that we can solicit contributions, hold fundraisers, begin to fund it so that we have some idea of how much money we have to work with, and begin to see if we could raise funds in many different ways towards a future community center. So it's just creating the fund. There's nothing to put in it, just trust fund created.
There's $175,000 that have presently been allocated towards this project. There was $100,000 in capital. There was $25,000, I believe, from the mold remediation that we received from the JIF, and I think there was $50,000 from the previous year to demolish it, the American Legion building. So there is $175,000 out there. My only suggestion to the council would be that if you are creating the fund and it's your intent to fundraise, you may want to tell the residents of River Edge exactly what they're fundraising for, and have some sort of conceptual idea of what it actually is going to be. Considering that you do have $175,000 at your disposal, I would imagine an architect could design something within that available money. But that's
But there's, right now...
That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Right now, we have no proposal to design anything. We have, unless you're making a motion to put the $175,000 that we have into the trust account, which I don't think you're making.
Well, $100,000 of it is capital money, which I don't believe could be put into a trust account anyway. But the other $75,000 is real, well, no, I'm sorry, $25,000 of that is actual real money that sits in an account.
That's in the insurance account.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you could make a motion to transfer that money from the insurance account, I would believe, into this newly created trust account. But the other monies haven't actually been fully appropriated yet. Right, Alan?
Yeah, I would have to have legal counsel on the transfer of funds and the auditor to weigh in on this, the transfer from self-insurance to this trust account. Trust account can be created. The borough's permitted to accept gifts and donations. There's a statute on that. There's a statute on creating the trust fund. We've done that many times in the past. It's called the dedication by rider. It requires state approval. It's generally meant for revenues that are not subject to reasonably accurate estimate in advance of what you want to do. And we've done it for beautification or the Green Team or the September 11th Memorial Gardens. We've done it at least a half a dozen times and have half a dozen trust accounts set up for different purposes. And that money would be dedicated to whatever, the overall purpose is that's decided upon by the council.
All right. So that's my proposal. Under new business. Any discussion on it?
Sounds like a reasonable idea. What we're simply saying is that if we do fundraise, we'd have the ability to put it somewhere. Is that essentially what you're saying?
I'm saying if somebody wanted to write us a check and they said, we want to make this donation towards a future community center, we would have no place to put the money. This is just to create a fund so that if somebody wants to write us a check, or if we want to have a spaghetti dinner, or if we want to have a bake sale, and an organization says we want to have this bake sale because we want to donate money to a future community center, we need a place to put contributions.
And what is the administrative costs connected with setting this up? Minimal?
It's a resolution of the council.
That's it.
So there really wouldn't be an expense, a budget item?
Postage.
Postage. Well, I think it's a great idea. I see no objection to setting up a trust account.
To me, it seems worst case scenario, it's benign, so, I'd be in favor of it.
I move it.
I make a second.
Can I have a roll call?
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Sepola?
Yes.
Councilman McDonough?
No, I think it's premature.
Councilman Bartoloni?
No, for the same reason.
Councilman Cavaleo?
Yes.
So 3-2, Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, can I have a motion to open the hearing to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the hearing is open to the public. This is the work session. We will be closing after this, and then we'll be opening our 8 o'clock meeting, give everybody another opportunity to speak. Would anybody like to ask a question, make a comment during the work session, public portion of the meeting? Can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We do not have any closed session topics this evening. Can I have a motion